fun last week, Coach. Starting off with our first road win of the year at Denver, then over to the pit for really a tightly contested game against against in-state rival New Mexico. Let's talk about the week as a whole and how that'll play moving forward here. There are really kind of only a few more non-conference chances left.
Yeah, disappointed overall. Expected to win the game at Denver, but at the same time, this season we certainly aren't overconfident anytime we step on the floor. But was glad to be able to get our first true, road win. We needed to get that feeling for this group, moving forward, to have confidence that we could win in someone else's barn. And then disappointed with the results Saturday up the road. Had our chances to win the game. You break the film down, and then all of a sudden, the last media timeout, it's a 2-point game, and that's going to be my comment this afternoon with the players is all these mistakes we made, and et cetera, and then again we're 2 points down, going down the stretch, and in the end we had some really really good looks that we needed to make in the last 3 minutes and 12 seconds that we didn't. And in the end, that was a big difference in the game.
Do you feel like for this team right now, it's kind of just doing whatever you can do to weather the storm until you guys get to 100%?
We just really look at it on a daily basis, trying to get better, trying to put our guys in the best position. We're human. It's not as if, we're not cognizant of the fact that, we're, 2 or 3 players down or more if you consider, how Terrell Brown is playing, at least up until his last outing. But, we thought we could win more games than we have, even though we were banged up. It was a challenge to myself and our staff and our players. And, if you look at the body of work, we could easily be 8-4, 9-3. There's at least 3 games that, we, in our minds, could have, should have won, both the Lobo games and then the George Mason game for sure. To me, that's where I look at it. But at the same time, we could be 4-8. There are a couple games out there that, we could have lost. UTEP at home, Colorado State in overtime, so there's a lot of different ways to look at it. But at the end of the day, my first 2 years, we won a lot of close games, and we figured out a way to win. And this year, it hasn't been quite the same thus far.
Can you talk about what you've seen out of the Arkansas football team, just looking at the film and all that?
Yeah, they obviously don't have a glossy record. They recently played UTEP to a 9-point game, so that certainly will get our players' attention when we start focusing in on them as a group this afternoon. The film that I've watched, they run decent stuff. They know who they are. They know what they want to do. They certainly have some athleticism on the floor. But, when we come off a game like we are with the loss, on the road, it'll be more about us this week. We're going to basically take Monday and Tuesday and really focus in on trying to get better. And obviously, the biggest thing is our turnovers, and we're going to try some things the next couple of days to both mentally and physically to get our players to make better decisions and not be as careless with the ball.
Trevelin Queen was named the WAC Player of the Week. Can you kind of just talk about what you've seen out of him these past 2 games?
That's news to me.
What have you seen out of him in terms of his passing these past few games? Seems like he's really been flirting with a triple-double pretty much lately.
He's been playing okay. I have high expectations for him. Not to take anything away from Trev, but if you look at his stat line against New Mexico, I think he was 7 for 16, but 2 of his threes were basically when the game was over. In the last minute of the game, he made 2. So really, he was 5 for 14 with 13 points in the guts of the game. And again, I'm not minimizing Trev's game or his ability or his production because he's an awfully good player. But his decision making's got to get better. He's got to understand how people are defending him. People are gapping him and loading up on him and daring him to making him drive it and then, just bottling him up. And he's got to make better decisions going forward. But certainly, he's gotten better on both ends of the floor with his decision making recently. He's working on defense. He's trying to let us hold him accountable because people want to attack him as well. If you watch the video like we do, people are going at him a lot. And that's pretty normal to go at a player that's their leading scorer to try to get him, silly fouls and get him out of the game, et cetera. But we're trying to get him to understand, what's going on out there in terms of game plan and to try to prepare himself and to be better on that end of the floor.
Will some of this adversity benefit this team moving forward in the sense that you're probably asking a lot of guys to do stuff that maybe they're not 100% comfortable with right now?
I hope so. You would think so. Time will tell. That would probably be, a question I can answer more honestly in, late January, but right now, you hope so. I don't try to really think about it and then terms right now. I'm more focused in on trying to get them better now and, get them to be more productive on the court in the roles that they're in right now. It's not like, I said it when we got hurt back in, mid-October that the silver lining is we have time to try to figure out how to play without these guys. And, as I alluded to earlier, it's been disappointing in terms of the number of wins. Have we gotten better? No question. We've definitely gotten better each and every outing for the most part, and I would expect us to continue doing that. And I know this wasn't your question, but when some of these guys start coming back, it doesn't mean it's going to be a seamless transition. That's the thing that I worry about is everybody's going to think, oh, poof, wow, we're just going to smooth sailing now. And, who knows how it's going to work. It's going to be a changing of roles for players, minutes. You never know how people react to coming back to injuries in terms of both their physical and mental confidence, easing their way back into game shape, game activities, et cetera. So time will tell with all that stuff.
I know AJ is probably just super anxious at this point, but just kind of following him on social media, he says he's getting closer and closer. From your standpoint, how close is he to getting back to playing some minutes for this team?
Yeah, he's handled it really well. Both he and Clayton, specifically with being seniors, have handled it pretty well considering the circumstances. Both of them have started handling the ball, on the side on their own and shooting the basketball as well. But, handling the ball and shooting the ball are, miles away from, having physical contact in practice, or in games, obviously. So I think AJ's, 2 or 3 days, maybe a game ahead of Clayton, but that could change depending how their hands, their specific injuries react, to getting back on the court. But I think it's going to be sooner than later. The date has always been, WAC play, and we certainly love to get a game under their belt prior to that. But at this point, obviously I've said this before, and most coaches say the same thing: is it's out of our control. The trainers and the doctors and the players will tell us when they're available. But before he can get back in on the court, he's got to get to non-contact. He hasn't even done individual workouts yet by himself. Then he'll have to do team practice where he has no contact. He'll do all the stuff that we don't have any contact. And then he'll be released for contact. And then once he does that, after a practice or two, I'm assuming he'll be released for the game. So, again, it's sooner than later. But I think the progression and the timetable remains the same.
What have you seen out of Jabari in these past 2 games that he started?
For me, starting or not starting is irrelevant. Who finishes the game is way more important, especially around here. In the last couple of years, we don't necessarily have started our best players or our best lineup. There's different reasons for it, but he's steadily gotten better and better, regardless of if he was starting or not. He competes at such a high level. He's so competitive, and he's a classic case of, his strengths are his weaknesses. His ability to fight you tooth and nail for everything on the court. Sometimes gets in his way of progress in practice and wanting to, fight coaching at times. And it's not in a total bad way. It's just is what it is. And he's so competitive. And I understand that. I've had other players like that. And you just try to educate them and get them to understand that we're with you. But at the same time, we're going to criticize you and we're going to try to make you better. And you've got to be acceptable to that so you can make more progress. But certainly when the ball's tipped and you're playing against someone else, you love having him out there in the court as a coach, and I know his teammates love it because the energy he brings and the toughness he brings, and he pound for pound he's got to be up there with giving everything he has as a college basketball player.
I know you don't like to look too far ahead into things, and obviously the focus is on Arkansas Pine Bluff, but just your thoughts on having Mississippi State on the schedule. That's this week, playing a Power 5 program like them.
Yeah, I haven't looked at him. Obviously one of our assistants is ahead of the game and I've asked him, offhand what he thinks and what he sees, and he's pretty impressed, with just the the quality of size and athleticism and skill that they possess, and again we made this schedule with thinking we're going to be really, really good, and we want to challenge ourselves. And certainly you can't expect these injuries to happen. You can't account for them. But right now it's like, wow, here we go. It's going to be a tough game for us. We don't have to go to their campus. We're playing the game in Jackson, Mississippi, the day before both teams leave for a short Christmas break. But on paper, they're having a pretty good season. And they definitely got a size advantage against us.